Have you ever taken credit for someone else's work behind their back and ran away with it, kept quiet without apology, and the owner of that work was castigated for your deeds? Welcome on board and get to listen to how I copied my deskmate's composition in class 3 because I was clueless. What am I going to do? So after relocating from home, I told you that our first station was in a town within our county where it took me 2 years before joining school. And the last time I was in school, I was in nursery. So one day I'm talking to school by some lady that I don't know why it was the lady to take me to school. And I'm given an interview to write the nursery rhymes A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3. And to me, that was so simple. I even asked myself, is this teacher's head working? Who gives this as an interview? And the teacher was so impressed that she asked the lady that had taken me for admission that, are you sure that this girl is to go to class 1? Is it not class 2? And this one was so sure. I was like, the girl is going to class 1. So I was admitted into class 1, did meticulously, and during those times, for those of us who were there, the language of instruction was our mother tongue. So for us, it was Luya. And, even the exams, they were set in English, but the teacher would read it and translate it to us, even the multiple choices. And at that time, I could somehow read. Before the teacher completes the reading, I would have already answered the question. So really, I was topping in my class at that point. Then a road shock found me when I was admitted now into this other new school in Rift Valley. By that time, I was in grade 3. I was to be admitted in grade 3. So my father takes me to this school and met with one Mr. Kimeto who interviewed me. And from his scars, he felt like, no, I'm not fit for that given class because according to him, I wasn't meeting his standards. By the way, I told you that there was an issue of language in this region we had transferred to, but in this given school, yes, it was a problem. But then for this given class that was headed or managed by one Mr. Kimeto, the story was totally different. And I thank God for my meeting that old mzee. So the class of this mzee, it was the only class that was speaking English on the entire compound of Sukotek Primary School. Yes, you heard me right. To the point other pupils used to hate that class. They believe that the class is so proud. It's trying to outshine them. And other teachers as well, we came to learn later that they also hated Mr. Kimeto because of his extra work. So yeah, the school was in a land where language barrier was an issue. Of course, they were also using their mother tongue as a mode of instruction, save for this given class. So Mr. Kimeto assesses me and he feels like, no, this one is not fit for my standards that I've set for my class. And so he tells my father, no, I cannot take this girl. Maybe if you took her to the other class. So my father, I don't know the feeling my father had or he had done prior investigation and research. And so he had to plead with this mzee. So eventually I'm admitted in class 3. Yes, in this given class 3 that belongs to Mr. Kimeto Philemon. Sir, if you're still there, thank you so much. So in this class, people are speaking English. People are so dedicated. People can write dictation, something I do not know. And the teacher realized that And this is what he would do during lunchtime, because I couldn't go back for lunch. I'll tell you later about that because of the distance, of course, I had told you. So during lunchtime, as we are waiting for the 2 o'clock bell to ring, he used never to go. Okay, for us as class threes, Mr. Kimetos, as the rest lower classes are leaving, this class three would remain on the compound. So at 2 o'clock, the break between 1 and 2, Mr. Kimeto would always make an effort of coaching me. Yes, he dedicated himself to coaching me. I remember he even would call other pupils who had now returned from lunch, who were better brains in that class then, and they would help me out. And in fact, they would wonder, why is it that this girl cannot just get simple concepts like, a letter and a word is scrambled, and then you join it to the word it should be. Now, a bigger test came. During our era, composition was first introduced in grade 4, not really grade 4, grade class 4. So it's in class 4 that people knew that, or most of us would do composition writing. But then I came here and I realized I met class 3s who were already writing compositions. How was I going to manage? And my first composition that the teacher gave to us was to write about your grandmother. Yes, my grandmother. So I wondered, my grandmother, what can I write about my grandmother? And remember, in my head, I have a very bad picture of my grandmother, but again, that was not there. So I'm like, what do I do? Where do you begin talking about a grandmother? Then in that minute of thinking, I look at my deskmate, Jacqueline Chepkoech. Jackie, I'm so sorry. And Jackie is almost caught away the write-up or the writing material. And I'm like, okay, seemingly people are completing and everyone else is busy writing. Then a brilliant thought, would you regard it brilliant really, came into my head. I was like, okay, why can't you copy Jackie's work? But then with some skills of editing. You can imagine at that point I knew editing without knowing what editing is. So I looked at Jackie's work. So, for example, if Jackie's composition line was reading, my grandmother is called so and so. So I'll also write the same line, but change the name to now my grandmother's name. She lives in this village. I'll be like, she lives in my village back in Western. So I did that to the end. She has 4 cows that gives 2 liters of milk. And then I'll be like, she has 1 cow that is yet to calve. You see? Brilliant. At the end of the day, we were done writing our composition for me. And when it was the teacher, of course, the teacher took it for marking. Then when it was time to return it, he gave out, you know how our teachers used to be, like if you have an issue with them, they'll be sure to call you out the last person. So he dishes out all the other books and he remains with 2 books. So far, Jackie hasn't received hers, haven't received mine. And he remains with these 2 books. And I'm so sure of what is happening. Probably, of course, Jackie was blank. And then he goes ahead and says, these 2 people, so and so and so and so, have compositions that are quite similar, save for some few details here and there. And then the mistake Mr. Kimeto did was to ask the class, yes, whom do you think might have copied from the other one? At that point, I was almost collapsing in my hand because I was sure they were going to mention my name because some of them know my struggles with, you know, with book or with catching up with this class. But then a miracle happened. I call it a miracle. At that point, class 3, what do you expect? How would you term this? The class goes like, Jacqueline Shape College. I was like, oh God, thank you. But then at the same time, guilt ate me up. So I looked at Jacqueline and you could see she's also asking herself questions. Funny, what happened? What is not happening? Because I did my work. And of course, I also know she did her work. So really, how come that we copied or I'm being accused of copying her work? But then at the end of the day, it remains so. And she, I don't know, but she never asked me a question. And she didn't give me the attitude or reaction of, I'm mad, I'm anchored. I don't know how things just happened. So yeah, at the end of the day, I won. Yeah. And maybe the reason why, I came to think of it, maybe the reason why these children or these people thought that Jacqueline could have copied from me. Remember, I told you there was an issue of language barrier, was because of my Kiswahili that was so good at that point then. So for them, they were like, wow, who speaks such Kiswahili? And then the little English I knew, I could speak the words so properly, you know, properly in the sense that for them they thought it was proper with their accent and mother tongue interference, which also interfered with me. If you are keen, you realize that I have some mother tongue interference in my speaking or pronunciation. So I guess those are the two things that really served me. My prowess in Kiswahili in terms of fluency and pronunciation, and the little English I knew I could pronounce again, the prowess in pronunciation. For them, they thought like, okay, this girl is just good. So yeah, that is how I ran away with someone's work because I was trying to save my neck. But then, guys, stop castigating me. From there, I worked hard. And should you know, I became the favorite of Mr. Kimeto henceforth because I now knew it is working here. I need to prove a point. I need to prove them that indeed it is Jacqueline that copied my work.